Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and today I wanted to show you the journey and the story of the Cast on Crit PowerPoint, or Cast on Crit Spectral Throw character I rolled on the 2-week hardcore race so as to achieve a top 25 spot and get a second demigod. The 2-week softcore race is what I was originally doing. I got my character to level 96, which should have locked me off for a top 25 spot, no doubt, so I decided I should try for a second demigod on hardcore, and after sizing up my options, I made the choice of playing Cast on Crit Spectral Throw. That said, I could not pick the best and obvious choice of Scion Ascendant, because the lowest level was about level 92 for top 25, meaning I had to turn this into an assassin character. That is a shadow, because the lowest of the 25 there was about level 88 at the time, meaning it was much more realistic to get there. In the end, the character finished at about top 26, and then bad things happened, which I will show at the end of the video. But I wanted to take you through the thought process of building this character and kinda what went into it, how it played out, and all of that. So, mapping in general was actually pretty smooth this guy on hardcore. I generally stuck to my more or less softcore mapping mentality of just whirling through everything, diving into anything and everything, no matter how dangerous or hard it was, because the character was pretty strong, had some good defenses around 5k life, some fortify most of the time, Warlord's Mark with insta-leech, cast and damage taken setup, some good flasks, all that sort of stuff combined meant the character was fairly durable and had solid DPS. Now, my usual Cast on Crit PowerPoint that you guys would have seen was Arc, Bladefall, and Arctic Breath. For this one, since I was rolling Assassin, I had to go for some more heavy hitters and rely strictly on 2 spells because I knew I wouldn't have the currency to try and make the real PowerPoint. So I just went with Bladefall and EK. Now that's basically the end of the gameplay here. I will jump straight into showing you what the character contains and what's going on with it. So here is the current dead character on standard. It is level 89, that's roughly where we got to, which was just outside the top 25. I was hoping to push to around level 90 or 91, but that just did not happen in the end. And that's okay, I suppose. Hit about 5.2k life with some very budget gear, but before I go into that, I'll show you what the original plan was and how it was different from normal Cast on Crit PowerPoint or Spectral Throw. So as I said, the usual Cast on Crit PowerPoint right now that I would recommend building is a Scion, and the tree would look something like this. You'd go all the way down here for the good attack speeds, the life, the frenzies, because this is kind of like just general buffing of your damage, and then you get some good extra crit from Twin Terrors for dual wielding. On top of that, you go to the Scion, which is where you start, and you get some dual sockets here and there, and some crit and crit for spells, all that kind of shenanigans. And the reason we go Scion, as I have mentioned, is Berserker. That is your entire source of leech, which then allows you to run 3 spells in your 6-link, and it's pretty strong damage based off of that. You also get a nice little damage boost there of 10% extra, and you go Assassin, which gives you 1 extra base crit to your dagger, as well as 1 base crit to the 3 spells you choose to use. These are the 2 that I would probably use myself and recommend. You can go something like Deadeye, for example, or Raider, or Pathfinder, or some shit on top of Berserker, but I think Berserker is the #1 and no-brainer choice. Throughout this tree you also do get Valpact, you do get a fairly crappy amount of life, I think. I can't even remember anymore. Let's have a look, 153. But we are dual wielding, so life on this character ends up being about 5k in the long term. That said, we do have phase accurate and accurate in this tree, so the character is actually somewhat more durable than the assassin. But the assassin is what I made to try and make it to the top 25, and I felt like I had to do that. And I thought assassin was my next best bet. And that is because I would get a shitload of crit and crit multi from Deadly Infusion, running 6 power charges. As well as that, I have rather good sustain from my Unstable Infusion for power charges in general, and I also got Toxic Delivery, which is another 10% Fizz as Chaos, and since I'm using two pure Fizz spells, that's just another 10% damage boost. So I focused more on getting stronger DPS from my 2 spells, because that's all I could reliably get. I did not really bank on a 6-link for this league. And just building the tree around that, so I skipped this entire area here, went up to the witch node because I wanted another power charge, and tried to build a bit more life than the other character, so I got up to 164 without dual sockets included. So in the end, the character has a fair amount of fizz damage, a fair amount of crit. I didn't actually need to take this in the long run, which freed up some points, and I'll show you exactly what it ended up looking like. So the tree I showed you was the plan, and this is what it ended up looking like. Pretty much the same. I could afford to drop Night Stalker because crit was actually really good on the character. I was hitting a 94 crit with this 8.8 crit base dagger with all my power charges up, because Assassin is insane and gives you lots of extra crit. So without my power charges, I'm rolling, where are we looking? 41 crit. With power charges, I'm at 94. And thanks to Unstable Infusion, that is 100% sustain. So the setup I was running was Beatiful, Thero Knives, 20 quality there is fairly important for more prod speed, GMP, Cast on Crit, and Spectral Throw. 20 quality on Spectral Throw and GMP is rather important because this build relies very heavily on attack speed. Whereas Cast on Crit Cyclone, for example, the other popular Cast on Crit build, doesn't really care too much about attack speed. You're going to be feeling procs regardless. But this one, to actually feel good, you really want a lot of attack speed. And that comes largely from our Frenzy charges after running Blood Rage, and from just scaling attack speed through jewels. So a lot of my jewels have 5 attack speed, 8 attack speed. Over here, a lot of attack speed on that one. And this one was a huge attack speed one. So 11 and 5, that's 16 attack speed. And then the tree itself gives you a bit of attack speed. So with Blood Rage, with your charges up, you end up attacking fairly fast, with your Silver Flask as well. And since I did not need to get something like this, I tried to free up some points so I could grab Acuity, which is attack speed and accuracy, since I'm not running a Vegan Dagger, and getting accuracy gear is rather a bitch. Essentially, this tree and everything I did for this character was for the budget hardcore sense, because I couldn't rely on gear whatsoever. Vegan Daggers was very hard to come by, other gear was very hard to come by too. So I overcapped resist quite profusely for elemental weakness and all that shit. Have barely any evasion, barely any armor, but running a granite with freeze immunity, running a diamond flask for extra spell crit, since even with the assassin shit, my spells only go up to about 50 crit. So Diamond Flask is a fairly nice DPS boost for both of those, both the EK and the Beatiful, since they have 6 and 5 crit respectively. My chance to hit ended up being 89% without a Vegan Dagger, and that is good enough. Around 85 is when I'd really be worried about it, but I did manage to get a little bit of accuracy, running a Ice Golem, and some accuracy from things like Acuity and Finesse. So the gear itself is pretty goddamn budget. In total, the character cost me, I don't know, something like 40 chaos if you want to just talk straight up prices. Went with Face Breakers. Since I have so much crit from Assassin, Face Breakers are the obvious choice to buff your damage the most out of any one item on the entire character. Got this dagger for about 8 chaos, I believe it was. Just a bit of crit and spell power. Craft your own attack speed on. Ideally you want max crit and max attack speed if you're not going to go a Vegan Dagger, but 2-week hardcore race was pretty hard to come by any real gear. I went a Starconger's Head because normally I would go a Rat's Nest, but the perk of a Rat's Nest is mostly extra crit and some attack speed, and movement speed. I don't use movement speed at all because I will. I don't need extra crit because I was already capped on crit and at 94% even without Rat's Nest. And the attack speed is still there. You get 10 instead of 15. So lastly, you get 98 life instead of 0. So Star Conjures for like 1 Chaos is a really solid choice here if you're looking for a bit more life and you're good on crit. Got this shield at level 40 for about 5 Chaos, I believe. What you're looking for is just some good spell power because that's spell damage because that's a lot of your damage from scaling basically. Tree doesn't get all that much, so you do need some on here and dagger ideally. And a few resists. Boots, pretty easy to buy boots with low movement speed. A couple of resists and life. I think these cost about 8 chaos as well. Belt, this is one that someone gave me as they were ending the league. Ideally I would have had a lot more life. That's what I would have gone for, but it's filled out resists and I decided to just keep it anyway. Bought this amulet for, I don't know, like 5 chaos or something as well. It's just got some life. What's important is the crit multi and the accuracy. So crit multi is pretty damn important on your amulet to scale your damage, as you don't really get too much elsewhere. You get some here, you get a little bit here, and a little bit here, and then just the assassin nodes from Deadly Infusion. On top of that, you also do get face breakers, so crit multi, wherever you can get it, is very important. And life and resists, not too important. Resist I could pretty comfortably drop even. I ran 1 Elrond ring, because that helps make the Spectral Throw mana cost just a little bit more manageable. Although I could actually get rid of it and run off of 16 mana cost, because I am running a Blasphemy Warlord's Mark. That is my entire life sustain and mana sustain at the moment. And with a 16 mana cost, it's just a little uncomfortable sometimes, because if you haven't attacked something recently, you're going to be running low on mana. Which is why I went for 1 Elrond ring, and I tried to get accuracy on it, so this one cost me like 3 chaos or something. It wasn't a very expensive ring, but you could ideally get rid of all your Elrond rings and run entirely off of Hatred and Blasphemy. Warlord's Mark. That said, the original goal was to get a 6th link and have Life Leech so I wouldn't need Warlord's Mark and run 2 Elrond rings, but things change as you go hardcore. And especially on the 2-week hardcore race where I basically almost had to be self-sustaining because it's just a fucking ghost town. Lastly, I had a nice resist and life diamond ring. Didn't really need a diamond ring at this point. I'd be happy to drop down to 90 crit even, because 94 was quite a lot, and I was sitting at overcapped for most of the actual character's progression anyway. Besides that, I went for a Belly of the Beast just to fill out some extra life, since a 40 life, 15 all-res Belly of the Beast only costs like 20 chaos. That's what I paid for this on this league. Just went for a 5 link. 6 link would have been awesome, but 5 is all I could manage. And then getting the colours is pretty easy as well. Ran 1 instant life flask, 1 just recovery life flask, silver flask, granite, and diamond. I did want an Atziri flask, but I never got around to getting one of those. And a Taste of Hate would have been amazing too, but I never got around to buying one of those. So I do have quite a few, can't see it here, got quite a bit of wasted currency. And I found a Voltaxic and a Lightning Coil that I never managed to sell, but that could have easily funded a Taste of Hate and plenty of other goodies, it's just the league is kinda dead. All in all, this was a pretty good character for me for a hardcore 2-week race. It served its purpose, and if I didn't kinda just get myself into a shit situation, which you're about to see, I probably could have got quite a comfortable top 20, maybe even top 10 in the next few days. As I mentioned, if you're going to try and play Cast on Crit Spectral Throw, I'd probably still 100% recommend Scion, just because this leech is so goddamn valuable. Warlord's Mark is great and all, but it's just not as reliable, since sometimes monsters are going to be out of range, sometimes you're going to get a curse immune monster, sometimes you're going to have a curse immune map. So that just means you can't run an entire map based off of that map mod. And yeah, The leech is just so much more comfortable in my opinion, and it also then lets you not be entirely fizz, which I think is probably stronger because Arctic Breath, and Bladefall, as you've seen in the past on CoC PowerPoint, have worked very well to synergize together and clear quite fast and quite efficiently. So anyway, this is how I died, and it's, yeah, kinda sad. So I happen to have like copyright music over the top of this, so I'll just talk you through what's going on. This is a Springs Tier 11. I rolled it pretty dirtily. It's got that hurts. Minus max, like 3 extra proj, and cold damage. And I came across that exile, like, kinda by himself when he was being a total douchebag near the trees, and he's also very high on spell block, so I just wasn't doing much damage to him, and I needed to go recharge my flasks. Moved on to try and grab some more monsters, completely unflasked, hit a campfire, which I could not whirl over, and got shit on. So I had no flasks, and those monsters were quick. A bunch of blue dudes. They were quick, so they just like attacked super fast with all their projectiles, with all their cold damage, with minus max, and I didn't really stand a chance. So there's my death. Hope you enjoyed it. See you guys next time.